So APS, they're coming for more of your and my money. 14% more they say they need in a rate hike, of course. And the net monthly bill impact will be about $20 a month that APS. You just roll your eyes there?
At how much that is, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That is really lousy.
Yeah.
And
is that something we blame on Joe Biden? Anything it's inflation? I'm sorry.
No, I don't think we can. So Ted Geisler, the CEO of APS, was on with Broomhead a little bit earlier today, and when I was rolling into KTAR, Geisler was explaining to Mike, hey, why the heck all of this is necessary. And let's see what he had to say.
Yeah, of course, Mike. And look, we realize it's never a good time to have to raise rates for customers, but it's also important to understand that we spend over $2 billion a year every year investing to strengthen Arizona's grid, to protect our customers' reliability against extreme weather, and to ensure that they have the energy that they need when they need it the most. And the fact is, current rates have not kept up with what it actually costs to operate the grid to ensure its reliability. In fact,
see, my question on that, and we reached out to APS. Pablo, they didn't get back to you, did they? APS did not get back to you at all. I know that we do appreciate.
They did get back to me just right before the show.
Yeah.
He was not available. He's on a tight schedule today.
It's all good.
But we are trying to get him on sometime during this
Great.
week.
And we appreciate that he came on with Broomhead. And I don't want to beat him up, but I do have some very honest questions for the CEO of APS and for the Arizona Corporation Commission as well. You just heard their CEO right there from APS, Ted Geisler, and he says, we got $2 billion that we're investing every single year. We've got extreme weather that we're dealing with in Arizona. I get all that. That's not my beef. My beef is, I think Arizona, from an extreme weather standpoint, has things pretty good here. I haven't seen. Yes, I've lived out here 25 plus years, Steve.
Yeah.
I've seen some very harsh dust storms, but for the most part, I think Arizona, when you think extreme weather, doesn't have to deal with it as bad as other states. And he says, "Hey, we're kind of behind the eight ball here." Whose fault is that? How is that me, the customer's fault, to have to come up with that money? Shouldn't APS have to invest a little bit better and make some better, wiser decisions? Why is it always when these companies need money that they get to reach into our wallets and say, hey, you know what? We need another 5%. Hey, we need another 14% in this case. How do they always just get to come for our money? Mr. Geisler, I understand as the CEO of APS, you need to get the money for your company.
Yeah.
But who's standing up for me?
Well, the Corporation Commission is supposed to.
And how's that went the last few years? Because usually it seems like APS will ask for one of these big fat rate increases of, lo and behold, about 14%. And then, newsflash, I'm telling you, this is how this one's going to play out. You know the politics really well because you've lived in that field pretty well, Steve. I think you know how the game with APS and the Corporation Commission goes pretty well, too. They ask for 14%. The Corporation Commission says, whoa, 14%, guys, that feels like an awful lot. We're going to give you, how about 6 or 7%? And they say, oh, okay, 6 or 7%. So, and then the Corporation Commission goes, we've stood up for you, Arizona. We made sure that evil APS only got 6% more of your money this year and 6% more next year and 6% that. They just got a rate increase last year.
Yeah.
This is going to happen every single year.
This is an issue sometimes, too, Joe, when it comes to a utility that is actually, under Pinnacle West, a for-profit company. Because if we look at the profit margins they've had, they just keep growing and growing and growing. And I think that's, you've got a list of questions. If Mr. Geisler had been on, you would have asked him. One question I would have loved to have asked is, okay, explain this to us. I think most of the listeners to KTAR are capitalists. They understand that a corporation should be able to make money.
Yeah.
But if the money you're making is always on the backs of your customers, does that make sense?
Oh, it does for them.
Right. For them it does.
It does for them.
Explain it to us better as to why, have you not planned well enough?
Yeah.
Are costs going up? Did you not support alternative energies like a lot of people in Arizona would like to have, especially in Phoenix?
Yeah, how about some wind? How about some solar?
More solar.
I've got solar up on my roof.
Yeah.
You're telling me that there's nowhere where you can... and I know there's a program that APS has where even they will put solar up on people's roofs and tap into that as well. Could we be pushing some more of that? Like, what could we be doing? Because it's it's not just a little frustrating. It is incredibly frustrating as a hardworking Arizonan to feel, and it's not just APS, it's a lot of companies out there. Well, sorry, we need to raise rates 3%. Sorry, we need to raise rates 5%. Sorry, we need to raise rates 14%. Sorry, we need to raise rates 20%. I know there's been some crazy things with water in the state of Arizona where when it deals with, why am I blanking on the term? Not the water department, but essentially where some cities have said, hey, we need to raise rates bigly for the water in Arizona, and they've seen dramatic increases. And I get it, but guess what? When I go to my boss and I say, hey, I would like a 20% increase to offset what APS and cable and water did to me this past year, you know what my boss goes? Hey, guess what? We don't have any money for you. We're not making extra dollars. So I have to just come up with it out of my pocket.
Going back to APS just briefly.
Yeah.
Here's the incredibly frustrating thing, not just about APS, Joe, but we don't have a choice. Like, guess what? I'm not saying competition's always good, but most of the time it is.
Yeah.
And this is one of those cases where if you live in APS territory, you can't call SRP and say, you know what, I would be SRP or vice versa. So therefore, if these rates go up, hey, pay them or have your power go out and have your air conditioning go out and maybe drop dead.
Yeah.
So,
I am
slight exaggeration.
No, but I am a big fan of competition. And I know it's that way throughout most of the United States where, hey, this is who your power company is. But when we have both SRP and APS in the state, I understand why they like it the way that they have it because, hey, we've got our customers and we can just hike the rates on them every single year. But imagine if they had to compete. And imagine if Steve and Joe and Becky Lynn and Pablo and you had a choice. Even if it was just a choice of two, imagine if you had some options out there. And I have a whole list of questions for Ted Geisler. I mean, what would it take for you to give money back to your customers and reduce those rates instead of increasing them year over year?
Well, that was a great phrase, and do I have it in front of me or not? I'm not sure if I do, but Geisler initially said something about in asking the Corporation Commission for the hike, we want to have this freedom in case of a hike or a decrease, or an increase or a decrease. And we're kind of, decrease? What? Come on.
No, but I'm serious about that.
No, I agree with you, but when's that going to happen?
Well, I can tell you when that's really going to happen. I don't remember a decrease. I remember at times where some things have been litigated and APS has had to hand some money back to people, but it wasn't as though it was a decrease. It was that the Corporation Commission or others ruled against the power companies and said, this is not going to go in your favor. You need to give that money back to them. We feel you overcharged them. Yeah. Now, that's not a decrease. That's a different case. To your credit and what you said, Steve, I think there's a lot of sense in that of, hey, you've got your investors. How about you invest a little bit better? Because it sure feels like every time you need to invest, you come to me, the customer, and say, hey, we need more of Joe's money. Yeah. We need more of Steve's money.
Yeah, we're overdrawn. Hey, Joe, listen, I need an extra $20 from you.
I really want to know what they say to the mom and dad or the person who's living on a fixed income right now who didn't get a raise. They're struggling to make ends meet. They don't have 14%. And I'm sorry, Mr. Geisler, but save me we have programs online that help you figure out your best rate plan. Guess what? I've used them. I've looked at them. I'm supposedly on my best rate plan. A 14% increase, no way to put it other than it just plain sucks. There's no way around that. So spare me the sermon about how I could look on APS.com and find my best rate plan. Okay, where's the one that will save me another 14%? Exactly. Because every year or two I go through and I look at my best rate plan and it says I'm on it and my rate's going up.
I know we've already done enough politics today, but I've got to throw this at you. So we see the
is it going to make me throw up?
I don't know, but we see the. So,
I don't care, Joe. Just
I do care
over there.
So Commissioner Nick Myers, who spearheaded this change for APS being able to ask for an increase on a yearly basis, annual basis. Okay, so Nick Myers and one of his colleagues, Joe, as of last week, are already being primaried by more conservative people. Partly because of the electricity policy and rate policy, but then also because they're not putting in enough of support for President Trump's policies, including reopening a coal plant for $2 billion. Yeah. I don't have a lot of faith in the Corporation Commission overall here, I got to tell you.
No, nor do I. And you mentioned Nick Myers, the Corporation Commissioner. Love him, too, because he says that we actually want this, that we want the plan that he's pushing for potential yearly rate increases. He says we don't want to have a massive jump in rates every 3 to 5 years. Well, what's a 14% increase? That's not massive.
Yeah.
You want $20 more from me every month? That sure feels pretty massive.
Well,
it just feels like going to yearly. It feels like, oh, so I'm going to get 6% every year instead of 15% every 3 years, or in this case, 14%. So are you telling me if we waited 3 years, you're going to ask for like 40%?
Yeah, but Joe, isn't this great? This gives us a chance to plan our budget in advance because we know our rate's going to go up.
No, this is not great.
No.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.